Welcome everybody, my name is Troy Dean, of course, from WP Elevation. Thank you for joining in this free training workshop where we're going to help you get better clients, better projects, and better fees. A couple of things. I just want your permission to completely shoot straight with you. There's no fluff, no BS in this presentation. I want to shoot straight with you, and I want this to be interactive. So here's the thing. This may be the only chance that we get to work together, and I want to know where you guys are at so I can help you. So if you're okay to answer questions throughout this call, please just give me a yes in the chat now. If you're okay to answer questions and play along during this presentation, yes, says Craig, Rog, Kylie, Robbie, Peter, Sue Ann, Nick saying yes, Bill says yes, Rick says yes, Jen says yes. Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good, good, good. All right. So on this call, my mission here is to help you guys get better clients, better projects, and better fees for the work you are already doing. Yeah, I don't want you to have to go and learn a whole bunch of new tech skills or design skills to get paid better fees. I just want you to do what you're already doing for clients, but scale it up. Does that sound good? All right. I am also going to share my iPad and draw some pictures on the iPad for you. So I think we should just dive straight in. What do you think? Should we just dive straight in and get into this training? Let me just make sure I've got all my notes here. Beautiful. Okay. So I want to make sure I've got my notes so I don't miss anything. Let me just share my screen. I'm going to share my iPad, and hopefully this all works and you can see my iPad. There we go. Beautiful. Okay. So WP Elevation is the home of the new breed of WordPress consultant. What does that mean? WordPress has been around for a while now, and it's becoming a bit of a commodity, as you probably have already experienced. It's a race to the bottom on price. It's becoming very competitive. And I've been saying for a while now that the most valuable person in this whole ecosystem is what we call the WordPress consultant, the person that sits between the client needs and the technology. So the person that sits between the client needs and the technology is the most valuable person in the ecosystem. I've heard a lot over the years, oh, developers are no good with clients. And that might be true, but I'll tell you something else that's true. Clients are not much good with developers because they don't understand the technology. WordPress is pretty easy technology for us to use, but it's still a bit of a learning curve and can be quite complicated for someone who doesn't know what they're doing. And that's why they're hiring us. And what they want is a solution. And we provide solutions for those clients, and WordPress is at the heart of everything we do. And so the point of this is, don't undervalue what it is you're doing. You are the most valuable person in this whole ecosystem. But the real question is, are you ready to become a digital maverick? And a maverick, by definition, is someone who is an individual creative thinker, someone who goes against the grain a little bit, has a little bit of a rebellious streak in them. And our job here is to take you from freelancer to consultant to digital maverick. And I'll walk you through exactly how we do that. Going to give you a bunch of cool stuff that you can start using in your business straight away. So typically speaking, when people first start out in this space, and this is a little bit of my own journey as well, is it kind of starts out as a bit of a hobby. You might build a website for your own creative project, and then someone comes along and says, hey, you know how to build websites. Can you build a website for me? And you say, yeah, I can build a website for you. So it sort of starts out as a hobby. And then at some point, you end up trapped in either your own business or working for an agency. Once you release yourself from being trapped, you find yourself working very hard and wondering when it's all going to pay off, right? And then ultimately, hopefully, you get to a place where you are driving the business forward and it starts to become fun. Now, in order to go from hobby along this journey, trapped, working hard, driving forward, there's a few things that you're going to need. Obviously, you need money and you need time. And so what we've found over the last 5.5 years of working with about 3,500 people through our programs is that when you start out, you might start out as a freelancer, right? And freelancers trade time for money, yeah? And then at some point, you might become what we call a WordPress consultant. And WordPress consultants, and by the way, the thing missing down the bottom of this triangle here is, guess what? You and what you bring to the table, what you bring to the business, your energy, your experience, your expertise, your knowledge. And as a WordPress consultant, you interact with time and money to build your business. So you might be, employing other freelancers or outsourcing or delegating and leveraging other people's skills to build your business. And that's great. That's a good place to be. But what we've discovered is that Mavericks, well, what Mavericks do is they just get rid of these arrows here and they make time and money work for them. And that is the difference between having a business and actually building an asset, or the difference between having your own job and building an asset. And so there's kind of this line that goes through the middle here that differentiates. The mindset of a maverick is someone who has time and money working for them, whereas a freelancer is just trading time for money, and a consultant kind of sits somewhere in the middle. And so my question for you is, where are you at on this continuum? Are you here? Are you a freelancer trading time for money? Are you a consultant using other freelancers to build your business and interacting with time and money? Or are you here? Are you a maverick? And do you have time and money working for you? Maybe just let me know in the chat here. Do you consider yourself a freelancer? Are you a consultant? Or are you a maverick? And a maverick is someone who has time and money working for them. So are you a freelancer, a consultant, or a maverick? Just let me know in the chat. I just want to get a bit of a who's who in the room here. Freelancer, says Peter. None yet, says Rog. Okay, cool. Beautiful, Rog. You're a clean slate. Halfway to consultant, says Rudolph. Freelancer, says Rick. Randolph says freelancer. Consultant moving to maverick. Love it, Kylie. Awesome. Consultant to maverick, says Jen. Freelancer, says Mike. Prapule, says maverick. Struggling between freelancer and consultant, says Suanne. Awesome. Okay, cool, cool. So let's talk about the WordPress space for a minute. When you start out, you if these axes here represent website cost, in other words, what someone is going to pay you to build a website, and this axis here represents their revenue. You can see that, yeah, perfect. So when you first start out, you might be building websites for, you might be dealing with clients who are doing, 500 grand to 2 mil in revenue, and they'll be paying you, less than 5K for a website. And which is, that's where most of us start out, and that's a perfectly normal place to start, and that's where I started. And a lot of us stay here, and I'll talk about why in a moment. Once you start dealing with clients that are doing 2 to 5 mil, well, they're going to start paying you, 5 to 15K for a website. And that starts to get a little more fun, because you can start to do some cool stuff with those sort of budgets. And if you're dealing with clients who are doing 5 mil or more, they'll be paying you 20K or more for a website. And you can see the bands get narrower and narrower out here. And once you start dealing with clients that are doing 10 million plus, well, if you're not charging at least 25K for a website, they'll kind of laugh you out of the room, because they want a serious thing. They don't want, a toy. So the mindset's just completely different. Now, here's the thing. Let's just label these right now. Let's just label these 1, 2, 3, 4. Just give me a number in the chat, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Where do you spend most of your time, and where are your clients, and what kind of budgets are we talking about with your websites? Bill says 1, Peter says 1, Donald says 1, Rudolph says 1, Kylie says 1, Rick says 1, Ariana says 1, Andrew says 1. Okay, so guess what? We're all in here. Yeah, most of us are in here. And this is where the majority of us stay. I'm going to talk about why we stay there in a moment. But guess what? There are people out here, and there are people out here, and there are even people out here building these websites. Yeah. And what keeps us, I think what keeps us in this majority is the myths that we believe about the marketplace. And one of those myths is, oh, no one will pay me more than $5,000 for a website. And that's why most of us stay in this blue section here, which is where the majority of us stay. But guess what? That's actually the most competitive part of the market. because we're all there. We're all competing for the website below $5,000 of the client who's doing somewhere between $500,000 and $2 million a year in revenue. We're all competing there. Now, my question is, people are doing the work out here. Why isn't it you? Why is this not you? Typically speaking, it's because we believe the myths that keep us trapped here, which is that no one will spend more than $5,000 for a website, and the skills that I'm providing aren't good enough for anyone to spend more than $5,000 for a website, or there might be imposter syndrome or whatever it is. But this is actually the most competitive part of the market. So it kind of beggars belief that why we all stay there. And I think it's just fear. And what we do really well is we help you jump to the next bracket. Yeah. So I just want to check in with you for a second. Just answer me this question. Where is your thinking? Where is your thinking, and how is that thinking working? How is that thinking maybe keeping you from jumping into the next band? I want to talk about some of the truths in a moment. The truth is that people will pay you more than $5,000 for a website. We had a member of our Mavericks Club, which is our high-end mastermind program, close a $30,000 website just last week. So we know that the myth that no one will pay you more than $5,000 for a website is actually a myth. We know that's not true, because we know the truth is people will pay you $30,000 for a website. So where's your thinking at the moment? Where's your thinking? Okay, so when you, and over the last 5 years, as I said, we've worked with over almost 3,500 people in our program, and we've identified that to go from freelancer to consultant to maverick, there's this journey that you go on. And this journey, and these are really the 4 stages of business that you go through. And we do talk a little bit in aviation terms here at WP Elevation, because we kind of liken growing a business, it's a bit like flying a plane. If you know what you're doing, it's a lot of fun. But if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know which buttons to push, it's terrifying, right? So this first stage of business here is what we call grounded. And let me give you some metrics. Let me give you some ways to measure which stage of business you're in. Some of the things that we measure and that we know are important: recurring revenue. Yeah. A is autopilot. How much of your business is running on autopilot? And T is turbulence. And turbulence means how much time are you spending dealing with issues, dealing with things that are broken, or putting out fires. And so when you're grounded, you've typically got less than 10% recurring revenue, you're building websites for less than 5K, and your turbulence is greater than 90%, right? That's what it looks like when your business is grounded. The plane is still in the hangar. You're not even out on the runway yet. And that's perfectly okay. That's where we all start. But there is this kind of line here, and a lot of us get stuck. A lot of us get stuck here. And I just talked about that before. A lot of us get stuck here because of the myths that we believe. And I'll tell you why it's easy to get stuck here: because it's comfortable. We know what it is, right? We know what that looks like. The other side of grounded is fear, because we don't know what it is. It's fear of the unknown. We've never walked that path before. We've never flown the plane. We've never taken the plane down the taxi and lifted off. So it's a very scary proposition. But the other side of grounded is what we call taxiing. And that is where you're literally learning how to get the plane down the runway. And I don't know about you, but if I'm going to take a plane down the runway for the first time, I want to make sure I've got someone next to me who knows what they're doing and can guide me through it, right? So once you're learning how to get this business moving, not even off the ground yet, but moving, you'll be doing websites for, 5 to 10K. Your recurring should be at about, somewhere between 10 and 30% recurring, and your turbulence will be, it'll still be greater than 50%. Now, there's a hard line here, and I'm just going to put this here again, because this is a tipping point here. It's what you believe that will get you from learning to actually get you to take off. And I promise you, it is not the work you are doing. It is not the skills that you have. It is what you believe that will allow you to do this. And so when you take off, you've got confidence because you've got the plane in the air. Hopefully you've still got someone sitting next to you, but you've got the plane in the air. Yeah. And this is a pretty good place to be. When you're in takeoff and you're feeling confident, you'll be building websites for, 10 to 20K. Your recurring will be, somewhere between 50 and 70% recurring, and your turbulence will be less than 50%. And this is a pretty good place to be. And, it's okay in here. You're making good money. You've got good clients. You've got good recurring. It's a pretty good looking business. And most people stay here because of what we call the good enough line. Funny name, but the good enough line is just that. It's good enough. This is good enough. But we know that, if Steve Jobs stopped at good enough, he would never have invented the iPhone. We would have been stuck with the iPad, or the iPod, I should say. And we know what happened when the iPhone happened. The iPhone revolutionized the world and the way that we communicate with each other and the way that we do business. And so if you can get through the good enough line, if that's what you want to do, then you end up elevating. You end up really taking the business to a new altitude. And at this point, you'll be, building websites for 20K plus. Your recurring revenue is over 70%, and your turbulence is less than 10%. So you're not spending hardly any time. You're spending hardly any time putting out fires and dealing with issues. Now, this bracket here, we've seen over the last, as I said, 5.5 years, almost 3,500 customers been through our program. We find in here, there's this thing that happens where our members become fearlessly independent. And what that means is that you're not desperate for work. You're not saying yes to everything that comes in the door. You're embracing your fear. You're embracing imposter syndrome. You're embracing all that kind of stuff. But you are independently operating your business, and you're doing it almost fearlessly. What we've seen with our high performers and the people that go on to join our Mavericks Club is that they become fiercely independent. And what that means is that you've kind of got this unconscious confidence where you're making decisions in the business without even thinking about it. It's second nature. You don't take any BS from anyone. You know exactly where you're going. You've got a vision, you've got values in the business, and you are living intentionally, and you are making deliberate decisions to serve you and your business. You're not reacting to client demands. And this is typically what leads to freedom. Now, a lot of us chase freedom, and there's a lot of BS on the internet about, the freedom kind of lifestyle stuff. I know, hand on heart, that it's impossible to achieve freedom unless you have that fierce independence. You can't be free if you're not fiercely independent. Robert Simmons, who's one of our members, he's spending next year living in Disneyland with his wife for the entire year, living at all the different Disneyland resorts in North America, while his team and his processes continue to drive his business, which is built on SEO retainer plans. When he joined us, he was working a full-time job. So he is kind of the perfect case study of someone who's gone from grounded and gone up to freedom. And we know that the success curve isn't a straight line, that it kind of goes like this, yeah? And you can see that a lot of the fun starts to happen once you start elevating and once you become fiercely independent. So I just want to check in with you guys. Tell me, wherever you're at, grounded, taxiing, takeoff, how does it feel? How does it feel to be there? Just let me know in the chat here. How does it feel? Whatever you identify here, if you're grounded or taxiing or taking off, how does it feel? How's it feeling? How's the business working and how's it feeling for you? Just let me know in the chat here. Peter says it's challenging. Yep, 100%. That's probably why you're on this call, Peter. It's probably why you found us and why you signed up for this training. Kylie says taxiing equals turbulent. Yes. Jen is secure but wants more. Andrew is stressful. Robbie says it sucks being grounded. Lynn, in taxiing and feeling like I need to move to take off. I'm feeling more confident and ready. Awesome. Good work, Lynn. I've been grounded for years and always been wanting to take it to a new level, but always afraid, says Sean. Fear is the thing that will keep us all back, 100%. And fear needs to be acknowledged, not ignored. You need to acknowledge your fear and work with it, make friends with it and embrace it. Craig, I'm taxiing or at takeoff, but I do no build client websites and it's a ton of work. Grounded, says Donald. Scary and stressful, just starting out, says Randolph. Awesome. Okay. So I want to just pivot a little bit, and I'm a big fan of drawing these diagrams, so I think it's a really easy way of explaining our model and explaining where you guys are at and how you can get to the next level. So you might be familiar with the iceberg metaphor. And so the iceberg, if you look at the tip of an iceberg, we know that the tip of an iceberg is only about 10% of what's going on. Yeah. And this is what you can see, and it's tangible. But if you're over here and you look down here, you'll see there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on below the surface. And in fact, if somebody was to give you a diving suit and put a mask on you, and you were to dive down there and take a look, you'd actually see that the base is where there's this amazing ecosystem and all this activity, and that is the foundation that's holding the whole thing up. And you know, it doesn't matter what the wind does up here, the iceberg is always going to move in the same direction as the base, because that is the foundation. So where you're at the moment, if you're looking for some help in your business and you're looking at us or anyone to help you in your business, what you're going to see typically is what you can see above the waterline, which is the product. And that might be a course, some coaching, and a community. And that's what you can see. And that's great. A lot of people offer that, and we certainly offer that as well. But what I think is a bit more interesting is just what's below that waterline, which are the results. And results are important to us. And the results that we look at are the percentage of your revenue that is recurring, how much of your business is running on autopilot. That's measured by, you know, how many days a month do you take off and how many days a week do you spend in your sweet spot. And we also look at zero turbulence. That's the other thing that we aim for. And so they're the results, the typical results that you can expect working with us. And this is good. Results are important to us. But what I'm really interested in is why all this matters. And that's the base. That's the foundation. Simon Sinek wrote a great book called Start With Why. And the foundation of this iceberg is why the rest of it exists. And we do this because we believe that digital mavericks have a right to be fiercely independent. And I'm going to explain why that is really important to me personally. We see it as our job to defend your right to be fiercely independent. And the reason that's important to me is because I'm a university dropout. For those of you who haven't read my story, I'm a university dropout, and I had no one in my family was in business. I had no business role models growing up. And I sort of spent my 20s wandering around the planet, not really sure what I was doing with my life. And then I discovered the web, and it changed my life, and it got me to plug into an amazing community of people online. And then I found myself accidentally in business, just like a lot of you guys. I know how to build a website. People want to pay me for that work. I don't know what I'm doing. It took me a long time, and I made a lot of mistakes along the way. And I started to document my processes, and the documentation of my processes is what became this program. So that's why I'm so passionate about helping digital mavericks become fiercely independent, because I know how it's impacted my life. And I sure as hell wish that something like this existed 8 years ago when I was starting out, or not 9, 10, 11 years ago, 11 years ago when I was starting out, because it would have fast tracked my results and it would have saved me making a lot of mistakes. So everyone in the team here, our entire team, of which there are 12, 13, 14 staff here and about 8 or 10 contractors who touch the business on a daily basis, we get out of bed every day to defend your right to be a digital maverick and to be fiercely independent. So this is kind of the what and the why of what it is we do. But I'd love to show you how. Would you guys like to see how it is we do what we do? Do you want to see how it is we do what we do? How we defend your right to become fiercely independent? Just give me a yes in the chat. Yes, says Bill. Donald says yes. Jen says yes. Paul says yes. Craig says yes. Lynn says yes. Okay, well, I'll show you then. So this is what we call the Mavericks model. And at the heart of the Mavericks model is you, and you are fiercely independent. And you are the reason that we do everything we do. And I know that sounds a bit cheesy, but it's true. Every day I come to work and I have an inbox and a Facebook group and Slack messages full of gratitude and thank you for the work that we do and the impact that we're having on people's lives. And I promise you that is far more addictive than any kind of revenue that we're earning. That kind of feedback and the testimonials and success stories that we get are really like a drug for us. And so helping you guys become fiercely independent is at the heart of what we do. Now, there are some outcomes that are going to help you get there. And we've already spoken about some of these: recurring revenue, autopilot, and aiming for zero turbulence. So in order to get these outcomes, there are some levers that we can pull and some accelerators that we can push. Again, pardon the plain analogy, but the levers that we can pull, first and foremost, profit. We need to make sure that you are running a profitable business. And if you are just starting out, now is a great time to start thinking about profit, because you don't have years of bad habits that we need to undo. So you need to start thinking about a profitable business, because you owe it to yourself and your clients to run a profitable business. If you hit the wall and run out of profit, you can't serve your existing clients, and then you're no good to them. So just get your head around that for a moment. You owe it to yourself and your clients to run a profitable business. Once we've got you into a profit mindset, we then also need to make sure that you're in a growth mindset. And if you look at the interaction between growing your business and making sure it's profitable, recurring revenue is the outcome that is going to happen there. And this is a nice loop where recurring revenue helps you grow and be profitable, and growing and being profitable helps you build more recurring revenue, because you're not as desperate to say yes to every project that walks in the door. And the final part of the equation is to make sure that you elevate the business above that turbulence, and that's all about people and processes and smoothing out the operations. And again, if you look at the interaction between growing your business and elevating the business, well, then you've got a business that's pretty much running on autopilot. And if you elevate the business and smooth out the processes and you're profitable, well, then there's not much to worry about. And so you've got zero turbulence. So on the outside of the Mavericks model, you might notice there are 9 blank sections there, and they're the 9 accelerators. So these profit, grow, and elevate are the 3 levers that we pull to get you the outcome to protect your fierce independence. Yeah. The 9 accelerators on the outside are the things that we put energy into, and the projects that we push and develop in the business. And I'll walk you through what they are now. So from a grow point of view, these are the things that you need to have in the business. You need to have a lead gen engine. And when I mean engine, I mean something that you can put the key into and turn it on and have leads drive into the business. We had just over 200, looking at a dashboard here, we had just over 200 people sign up for this webinar. We have a lead gen engine that we can literally turn on or off when we need to. You also need to have what I call premium positioning. Now, this is probably the #1 thing that is going to help you get paid better fees and stop you competing with all the other freelancers on Upwork who are charging, $20 an hour. And you need to have, just like every airline has a loyalty program, you need to have a referral machine so that your happy customers keep referring their friends to you. From a profit standpoint, the first lever here is having a predictable product. And when I say predictable, I mean a product that gets a predictable outcome for your clients. It is scalable. The inclusions are in, the exclusions are out. Your client knows exactly what they're getting. This is something that you can teach other team members eventually to deliver, and you can bank on the profit in that product because it's not bespoke client services. Listen, I don't want to burst your bubble too early on in our relationship, but doing bespoke client services is kind of like slavery. At least it was for me. You are beholden to client demands, and it's very difficult to scale that kind of business. The good news is there is a very simple way to turn your existing services into a predictable product, and predictable products are far more profitable and scalable than services. The other thing you need to have is care plans. And it doesn't matter what kind of business you're in. It doesn't matter if you're doing SEO or marketing funnels or WordPress development or copywriting. It doesn't matter what kind of business you're in. You've got to have your clients on some kind of monthly subscription package, and we call them care plans. We kind of invented that term back in about 2007. Everyone was selling maintenance plans, and I started talking about care plans because I realized nobody wants to pay for maintenance. They expect it, but they will pay for care. So in fact, if you Google WordPress maintenance plans or WordPress care plans, we come up all over the place because it's a conversation we've been having here for quite a while. And the final thing you need from a profit point of view is your instrument panel, right? You need to know which direction you're headed in, left, right, up, down, where are we going, so you can course correct and keep the plane on course, yeah? Now, to elevate the business above the turbulence and smooth things out, there are 3 things that high performers use on a regular basis, whether they are sports people, business people, politicians. There are 3 things. I'm not sure that many politicians are high performers, but that's another conversation. There are 3 things that high performers typically use as part of their regular routine. They use drills. In other words, they have things that they practice every day, week, month, yeah? For us, it's, how to take a brief from a client, how to run an effective client meeting, how to write proposals, how to onboard a client, how to get a client from a project to care plans, how to present your product to them, how to manage your cash flow, how to onboard staff. These are all things that you can practice to improve the business. You also need a crew. You can't fly a plane on your own. That doesn't mean you have to go and hire a bunch of full-time employees. You can start out using contractors and using freelancers, but eventually you do need to have a crew around you to help you grow the business. And finally, you need a squadron, because nobody goes into battle on their own. So you need to have a community around you that can help you, that can cover your back when you're going out there and trying something new, that can pick you up and dust you off when you fall flat on your face, and who are there to support you. Now this, I hope you're paying attention here and making some notes, because this is the blueprint for running a successful WordPress consulting business. And what I just want to do is check in with you guys now and ask how you feel about where you're at in the business. Give yourself a red, amber, or green, just like the traffic light system, right? A red, amber, or green. Let's have a look at grow. Do you have a lead gen engine in your business? Are you positioning yourself as a premium consultant? And do you have a referral machine? If you've got one of them, you're a red. If you've got 2, you're an amber. If you've got all 3, you're a green. Just let me know in the chat here. I want to get a bit of an indication as to where we're all at. Rog says red. Rick is a red. Donald is a red. Bill is a red. Andrew's a red. Ariana's an amber. Paul is red. Okay, well, I think we can agree that the collective vibe in the room is that we're probably all need some help here, right? Red means you need help. Amber means, oh, I'm doing okay. Green means I'm crushing it, yeah? Let's look at a profit standpoint. Do you have a predictable product? Do you have care plans? And do you have an instrument panel set up and running systematically in your business? Again, just let me know red, amber, or green in the chat. Let me know red, amber, or green in the chat from a profit point of view. Where are we? We are red. We are red. Randolph is amber. Excellent. Andrew is red. Jen is amber plus. Awesome. I love Jen's just made up a whole new category. Ariana is red. Mike is amber. Peter is red. Craig is red. Building it. Oh, look. If I was really generous, because Jen gave herself an amber plus, I might give you a couple of ambers here and a red over here, okay? Now, what about elevate? Our drills, our crew, and our squadron. Just think about the amount of turbulence that you're dealing with in your business. And again, give me a rating in the chat here, red, amber, or green. How much turbulence and stress are you dealing with in the business? There's lots of red here. There's lots of red. There's lots of red. There's lots of red. I don't think Jen, even with an amber plus, could save this one. There's lots of red. Okay, so there's lots of work to do here. Now, obviously, I don't have time to go into all of these on this call, but what I do want to do is I want to give you one of these accelerators. I want to give you everything I can about one of these accelerators, and then I can tell you where you can get help with the rest of them. And I want to give you what I think is the lowest hanging fruit and probably the sexiest thing, and that is this here, premium positioning. Because if you get this right, this is probably the quickest way to start getting paid better fees for the work that you're already doing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to teach you a model for taking a brief from a client. And this is going to instantly take you from freelancer, who is time for money, it's a race to the bottom, everyone's negotiating on price, and I want you to become a highly paid business consultant. So I'm going to walk you through the model. It's called Go Wide, Go Deep. And I'm also going to give you a real life case study, a real life example of how this works. So typically speaking, someone comes along and says, hey, Jen, I need a website. And you say, great. So this is what happened with me back in 2008. Christian comes along and says, hey, Troy, I need a website. I own an osteopath clinic. Osteopaths, by the way, are people that work on the spine, kind of like a chiropractor or a physio. He said, I need a website. And at that point, I could have said, oh, no worries. I know how to use WordPress, and I know how to use some plugins, and I've got some cool themes that I bought from Theme Forest. So why don't we make a website and I'll charge you $1,500, which is what I used to say, by the way. And he would have said, no problem. I'm happy with that. And he would have been very happy with that. Because it turns out he paid a lot more than $1,500 for this website, but I'll get to that in a moment. But instead of pitching myself and telling him what I knew and kind of telling him about my skills, I asked a question. I said, okay, Christian, tell me something. Why do you need a website? And he said, well, it's a good question. He said, I want it so that when you type in all these keywords into Google, we come up all over the search engine results pages. And he was pretty savvy and he knew what he was talking about. And he'd actually done some of his own keyword research. And I said, okay, this is 2008. Very easy to get websites all over search very quickly, right? A little bit tricky to keep them there, but very easy to get them there. So at that point, I could have said, no worries. Well, we'll get up WordPress and we'll put in the Yoast SEO plugin and we'll make some content and put up some blog posts and $2,000. What do you reckon? And he would have said, no problem. And I would have been very happy with the $2,000 project and I would have left a lot of money on the table. But instead of doing that, I said, okay, Christian, why else do you need a website? And he said, well, ours looks a bit dated. They had an existing website. And he said, that looks a bit dated. I think it needs a bit of a design refresh. And I said, I'm glad you mentioned that because now I don't have to. It does look a bit dated. And that's all right. We'll fix it. And I could have said, we'll spin up WordPress, put in the Yoast SEO plugin, grab the Genesis framework, one of those sexy themes from StudioPress, $3,000. What do you reckon? And he would have said, no problem. But instead, I said, okay, why else do you need a website? Now, I admit sometimes this can get awkward. And if the client looks at you like you're, asking too many questions, my standard response is, look, think of me as a doctor. I can't give you the right medicine unless you tell me all of the symptoms. At which point it's a bit of a lighthearted joke and they're usually happy to play along. But eventually they do run out of things to say. And for him, it was all really about the search engine visibility. And I said, okay, so let me just get this right. You need a new website because you want to be all over search results pages for these particular keywords. You need a bit of a design refresh, and it's just maximum visibility on search. Yep. I said, okay. So tell me something. Out of everything you've told me, what's the most important? If you could just have one. Now, by the way, this exercise up here is called going wide on the answers. That's why it's called Go Wide, Go Deep. Now what we're about to do is we're about to go deep on the one answer. And he said to me, well, the most important is definitely the search engine visibility. And I said, okay, why? That's right. You keep asking the same question. Why is that the most important? Because let me tell you why this is important. It's important because at this point, I was thinking he might just want to be on the golf course and say to his buddies, hey, look at this, boys. When you type in these keywords, look at that. We're everywhere. Pretty cool, huh? It could have been a vanity exercise. It might be that he just needs new people to get off the street and come into the clinic. It might be that he wants to offer an introductory coupon code to grow the business. I didn't know. At this stage, I'm still unclear as to why search engine visibility is important. And I need to know everything before I can design a solution for him. I'm an annoying little 6-year-old child like that sometimes. I ask why all the time. And he said to me, all my competitors are on search. I just want to be all over search. I want to outdo those competitors. And I said, okay, why else is it important? Is this a vanity project? What's going on? And eventually what happens is they usually crumble and they tell you something like this. He says, well, the truth is I'm selling the business. Right, I understand. That is called the truth. And if you think about it, right, why is a search engine visibility campaign important if you're selling the business? Because if you're selling the business, somebody somewhere is thinking about buying the business and they are all over search, typing in all of the possible keywords they can think of that relate to that business, particularly given that it's a bricks and mortar physical location business. And they want to see that you've got an amazing search strategy. And that's why search engine visibility was important to this particular client. And through a process of asking these questions, we eventually quoted and were paid $11,500 for a website that I could have easily got paid $1,500 for. But I got to the truth by asking the right questions in the right order at the right time and really uncovered what was going on. This is called going deep, right? So go wide, go deep. Hey, I just want to check in with you guys. Has this been helpful? What's been the most valuable thing out of the go wide, go deep exercise? Just let me know in the chat. What has been the most valuable thing in the go wide, go deep exercise? Just let me know in the chat if this has been helpful for you guys and what's been the most valuable. Yeah, Kevin says, amazing questions are the key. Yep, expand the vision, says Peter. Yes, why is my favorite question, says Craig. Why is that your favorite question, Craig? Finding the truth, says Paul. 7 levels to get to the truth, says Bill. Yes, getting to the root of what they need. Knowing the questions to ask why and why else repeatedly. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so as I said, this is one part of the Mavericks model. This is the premium positioning part that we've just talked about here. As you can see, it's one part of this beautiful, elegant model of taking your business to the next level. I'm happy to tell you where you guys can get help with the rest of it, if you like. What I do also want to do is just share some case studies with you in a moment of one of our members who I'll introduce you to in a moment. She went from building $500 websites. She's a stay-at-home mum of 2, works from her spare room, went from building $500 websites in her spare room to doing over 200 grand a year in revenue. And she attributes most of her success to the go wide, go deep methodology that she practiced. She learned that in our program and she's been practicing it and eventually has mastered it and nailed it. And I interviewed her on a podcast recently and I said, wow, you know, how did you get to the point where you can confidently use this go wide, go deep? And she said, oh, no. She said, I'm not confident. I just trusted the process and I just practiced the drill and just kept doing it. She said, I'm still not confident doing it. Over 200K in revenue this year alone. So before I introduce you to the case studies, I just want to talk a little bit about where you guys are at. So this is where you are at right now. Today, this is the time continuum here. And let's just make this 12 months because we know that's typically how long it takes to have a huge impact in your business. I'm sorry if you guys were here for a quick get rich quick scheme. That wasn't what the ad said, was it? I hope you haven't signed up for a quick get rich quick scheme. So you are going to move along the time continuum and there's a couple of choices that you can make. You can just drift, right? And you can just drift along doing what you're doing in the business, not making any changes, and you can stay grounded, which, as I said, is totally fine if that's where you're at. And a lot of people stay there because it's easy and it's comfortable. Or you can get into taxing by making some changes in the business, yeah, and trying things out. Or you can surround yourself and get the help that you need. Here we go. And get into takeoff. Oh, hey. Or you can really commit and make a decision that this is going to be your year and you can elevate. Now, there's a couple of things I want to highlight. If you do this, it's what we call drift. And you just go along kind of doing what you're already doing and, you know, you don't make a deliberate, conscious, intentional decision to make a change. So that's what happens. You drift, you end up, you're still grounded. In order to elevate, you need to make deliberate decisions and start living intentionally. And it's really quite simple. What we're really good at is taking people here and getting them to do what we call jump lines. Yeah. So we're really good at helping you jump lines. That's the first thing we're really good at. And I can tell you from experience that jumping a line here is a lot easier than trying to jump a line here. If you try and do it here, it's risky, it's expensive, and it's just bloody hard work. because you've got all this legacy stuff in the business that you have to go and undo. You might have a whole bunch of clients that you're charging $29 a month on a care plan. You've got to go back to them and tell them that you can't do it for $29 a month anymore because you're going to run out of money, and you have to put their price up to $197 a month. And that's a huge conversation to have. Whereas if you start charging $197 from day one, well, it's easy to do that down here, right? So we're really good at helping people jump lines. And as I said, it's easier if you do it, sooner. What we're also then really good at is helping people ride the curve. And what happens in business is you get to a certain point where you have to start making decisions about things that you didn't even know existed, right? On a monthly basis, cash flow, taxation, superannuation if you hire people, legal stuff, accounting stuff. And what we're really good at is just helping you tick those things off to make sure that you can ride the curve and that you don't fall below the green line. In fact, we have a thing here that we talk about. We ask ourselves and our members on a regular basis, is that a green line decision? So we help you ride the curve. So my only question for you guys is, how long do you want to wait to jump lines? Do you want to jump lines now, or do you want to wait 12 months? Just let me know in the chat. Do you want to jump lines now, or do you want to wait 12 months? Just let me know in the chat. How long do you want to wait before you jump lines? Now, says Donald. Rick says now sounds good with a smiley face. Randolph says definitely now. Ariana says now. Love it, of course. Kevin says now. Paul says now, all caps with an exclamation mark. Jen says now to 3 months. Okay. Excellent, Jen. I love Jen just keeps inventing categories. I love it. Okay, so the next steps for you guys here are to very simply decide that you want to jump lines, join our community, jump lines, and then of course, elevate, ride the curve and elevate. And what this looks like here is our 6-week blueprint program. Okay. So let me introduce you to a couple of case studies. Jasmine Andrews, this is what I was talking about before. She's based in Sydney. She specializes in working with non-profits. She was building websites for $500 and then went to 2K websites and then put her price up to $5,000 websites. And now she's done over 200 grand this year in revenue alone. And she attributes most of that success to go wide, go deep. Here's some things she said in our Facebook group recently, and I just want to highlight some things here. I said, hey, has anyone got a favorite niche in our Facebook group? And she said, yeah, not for profits. And I said, excellent. Can I use that as a case study in a webinar, please? And she said, yes. So I'm just, calling myself out here. And she says, I love them because they really need my help and I can deliver huge value to them. Right? She goes on to say a few other things. And then check this out. They pay well and are usually people I want to spend time with. I said, love this. Thank you. And she said, anytime, mate. Because that's how we talk to each other here in Australia. And I thought the conversation was over, but no. Then she goes on to say, wait till I tell you about the almost 300 grand worth of proposals I have under consideration at the moment. And I said, holy shit. She went on to explain a little bit about what's included. And then she said, yep, I invoiced 60 grand yesterday. I said, holy batshit, well done. I've just blurred out some privacy details there. So now she's gone on to generate over 200 grand paid invoices paid this year so far. Josiah Goff, when he joined our program, his wife was pregnant with their second child. He just left his job and walked away from a whole bunch of stock options that would have been very lucrative for him because he was miserable. He joined our program. He had $0 in monthly recurring. He now has over 8 grand in monthly recurring. He's been with us for about 6 weeks. And he said, hey, just realized something while looking through QuickBooks. This was posted just a little while ago. We're only halfway through Q3 and I'm about to surpass revenue from Q1 and Q2 combined. Check this out. Now my business is on track to generate over 100K of revenue in 2018. What's crazier is even if I didn't close any new deals the rest of the year, my recurring revenue alone would get me to 90K. And at the beginning of May, I had $0 in recurring revenue. I'm not doing anything special, just following the process that Troy Dean and the team put together. And I've only implemented half the blueprint. Hey, how fantastic is that? And finally, Robert Simmons, who really has become our poster boy for what it really means to become a digital maverick. I spoke about him before. His wife and Robert are spending next year living at Disney World resorts. It just blows my mind how far these guys have come. When they joined our program, Robert was working a full-time job. He said to his wife, he'd been watching some of our videos and attended one of our webinars, and he said, I want to join this program with this Australian bloke. And his wife, Alyssa, said, no way, you're not giving that lunatic any money. And he said, okay. So he downloaded our free proposal template, sent off a proposal, won a job for $6,000, and then went back to his wife and said, can I now join this program? And she said, yes, of course you can. And so he did. And within a couple of months, he quit his job, was working from home in the business with his wife. They came down to Miami and met me at the start of last year. And it was a very heartwarming and very rewarding experience to meet them in real life. And now, as I said, next year, they're spending the entire year living at Disneyland. So there you go. If that's not freedom, I don't know what is. So I would love to talk about your case study. I would love to feature you on a call just like this. In the interest of complete transparency, I want to help you succeed because I want you to tell everyone how fabulous we are, and I want to feature you as a case study. And so in order to do that, I'd like to invite you to join the WP Elevation Blueprint program. Let me walk you through exactly what is in the program. So if you and I are working together over the next 6 weeks in a group environment, here's what we're going to be doing over the next 6 weeks. Week number 1, we're going to look at your lead gen engine and look at your incoming process for how you deal with your incoming leads so that you can stop wasting time with people who don't have the right budget. Week number 2, we're going to look at your positioning and make sure that you are positioning yourself as a premium consultant and not a freelancer. And that's all about client meetings and communication and verbiage and scheduling and agendas. Module 3, week 3, we're going to look at your proposal system. How are you writing proposals? How long are they taking? How are they converting? What's your strike rate? And we're going to give you a whole bunch of templates that you can just start using straight away to write proposals for SEO and marketing funnels and marketing retainers and web designers and web development, email marketing, you name it. Week number 4, we're going to look at what we call your anti-follow-up sequence. And this is how you nurture your clients and keep in touch with them without seeming desperate or needy so that you can close more deals and get more consulting work out of your existing clients once you've launched their websites. Because the lowest hanging fruit is probably, for those of you who have already got clients, the lowest hanging fruit is the clients you've already got because they already know, like, and trust you. Week number 5, we're going to have a look at your delivery system. How are you delivering? This is all about elevating the business. How are you delivering those projects? Are they on time? Are they on budget? Are they profitable? We'll give you all of our templates for onboarding, offboarding, training your clients, launching your clients' websites, all the checklists and templates you need are there. And in week number 6, we're going to look at your referral machine and make sure that you've got a system in place so that you can systematically get referrals from your happy clients. The Blueprint program is rolled out in an online course platform. So you're familiar with this, you log in, there are video training tutorials in each module with transcripts, and all the templates you need are there for you to download and use straight away in your business. We don't teach you anything and then make you go and do a bunch of work and create a whole bunch of new templates. We just give you the templates that we use that we know work, and you can just download them and start using them in your business immediately. This is an example of our resources page. All of our resources are very well organized into the different modules of the program. So you just watch a video, download the template, and if you ever need to go and access it again, you just go to our resources page and they're all categorized there for you. There are dozens of resources in that library that have been developed over the last 5.5 years by myself and the coaches, and also the 3,500 members that have been through the program. They've all contributed their ideas to the resources to make them even better. We're also giving you live coaching calls each week for the next 6 weeks. These are small group coaching calls with one of our coaches or flight instructors, as we call them. And they're designed to help you get unstuck and get your questions answered so that you can implement the blueprint, work through to the end, and then eventually answer the multiple choice exam and get your certificate. That's right. We'll also send you a t-shirt once you graduate with your certificate. But don't tell Jen that I told you that because it's supposed to be a surprise. So shh. We're giving you a 30-day money-back guarantee, of course, because we've been doing this for 5.5 years and we know it works. So we're just going to give you a 100% money-back guarantee for the next 30 days. No questions asked. And we're also giving you community support for the next 12 months. Now, our Facebook group is not a free Facebook group with lots of people spamming in there. It is a paid Facebook group. In fact, it's $97 a month to belong to our Facebook group. We are giving you 12 months access to that Facebook group as a thank you for joining the Blueprint program. So you've got 12 months of support, not only from us coaches and mentors, but also from all of your peers in the community, the people that are doing the do and running businesses exactly like yours. So that is, I can't put a price on that. It's absolutely invaluable. By the way, every now and then something crazy happens in our Facebook group. I couldn't make this stuff up if I tried. I just paid my mortgage for 12 months and couldn't have done it without WP Elevation. Thank you to everyone here. That's craziness, isn't it? Seriously, I'm not that good with Photoshop and couldn't make this stuff up. The investment in the Blueprint program is $1,997, or we have a 12-month payment plan of $197 a month. You do save a little bit if you can make the investment up front, but hey, if cash flow is tight, then you can take advantage of a payment plan. WPElevation.com/start is where you go to set up your username and your password and get access to all the materials. And I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you some fast acting bonuses, but these are going to expire in 15 minutes. And here's why. If you just take a look at this watermark in the background here, I just want to ask you again, where are you at today? How long do you want to wait before you jump lines? I understand that it's a little bit scary making the investment of time and committing to a program like this and investing financially in a program like this. As I said, it does get riskier and more expensive the longer you leave it to jump lines. So I want to incentivize you for jumping lines now, and I want to reward you for being bold and being brave and making that decision. So here are the fast acting bonuses. I'll walk you through them. Then I'm going to put the 15-minute timer on, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Bonus number 1, coaching calls for the next year. That is right. We are giving you coaching calls for the next year. We run coaching calls here just about every week of the year. There's a couple of weeks over Christmas and New Year that we don't, but other than that, we run a coaching call every week. So you can, for the next year, you can jump on and get your questions answered and tap into the resources here from the coaches. That is absolutely priceless. Bonus number 2 is our lead gen masterclass. This will make you a lead generation machine, not only for your own business, but for your clients' businesses. And if you can generate leads for your clients, you are irreplaceable. They will never fire you. That is a standalone product that we sell for $997, and I'm bonusing that in for you right now. Bonus number 3 is the hiring a team masterclass. So if you need to hire a team member or you want to grow your existing team, the job descriptions, the onboarding templates, the training, how do we make this work? How do we hire a team successfully? That is a standalone masterclass we sell for $997. And again, I'm bonusing that in for you. And finally, the recurring revenue masterclass to help you build and sell care plans in your business. It is one of the accelerators on the Mavericks model. It's something that you definitely need to get your head around. And this masterclass is epic. It is there to help you set up your care plans and go sell them to clients. And that is valued at $997. And we are gifting that for you as well. WPElevation.com/start. Now, I am going to be a little bit cheeky here, and I'm going to put on my timer. So the time has begun on the fast acting bonuses. I do want to address some of the most common questions that we get on these calls, and some of the most common questions whenever we present this information. These are the most common questions we get. So I just want to drill through these because these might answer the questions that you've got in your mind right now. So just bear with me a second here. And just having a little bit of a internet issue here. Okay, so the most common question that we get is, but I am not a coder, and I don't believe that I can build a successful business unless I am a serious coder or, you know, UX designer or, you know, whatever the skill set is. Insert skill set here, right? And the truth is, and it's a great question, the truth is you don't need to be an epic designer or a full stack developer to command high fees and build a great business as a WordPress consultant. In fact, I think sometimes it holds you back. If you are a great technician, it can hold you back from building a great business because you can know too much about the code and you can go down that rabbit hole and that becomes your sweet spot, and you end up spending, I had a conversation with someone yesterday who's joining Mavericks Club, and he said the biggest problem I've got right now is I need to onboard a team member to help me, but I've got all this client work, and the client work is what he loves doing because he's really good at it. Yeah. So we have plenty of members in our program who are very successful, but are not great coders and not great designers. The second most common question is, but WordPress is free. And it is. You're right. WordPress is free, open source software. You can go to wordpress.org and download it any day of the week. Won't cost you a cent. But here's the thing. Go and download WordPress and download your favorite theme and your favorite half a dozen plugins and zip that all up into a zip file and send it to a client and say, there you go. There's your website. And I'll charge you $300 for the theme and the plugins. What are they going to do with that? They don't know how to install it on a hosting environment. They don't know which version of PHP they need on that hosting environment. They don't know what to do when things break. They don't know the difference between a page and a post or a custom post type. They haven't got a clue what they're doing. That's why they're paying you. They're not paying you for the raw materials. They're paying you for a solution. So even though WordPress is free, the value that you add to WordPress is how to use it to get them the outcome that they want. And that's what you get paid for. Question number 3, what about pricing and discounts? All right, well, let's break that into 2. Pricing is, there are, my friend Chris Lemmer, who some of you may know, some of you may have heard of Chris Lemmer. He runs a pricing masterclass in our program for our members. He was the one that educated me about pricing. He said, there are about 20 pricing experts in the world. About 20 pricing experts in the world. They go off to a pricing conference a couple of times a year and they talk about pricing, right? 20 in the world. Because the truth is, pricing is completely made up. It is arbitrary. And once you understand how arbitrary pricing is, you then realize that your job is to constantly communicate value to your clients. And the only question you need to answer about your pricing is this: can I deliver what I'm promising to my clients at that price point and make a profit? Because if you can't, you're not in business. You're a community service or a hobby. Can I deliver what I'm promising to my clients at that price point that I've quoted and make a profit? No, put your price up. Okay, so now the price is up. What do I need to do? I need to constantly communicate the value of what it is we do to our clients. Yeah. Hey, Bob, thanks for joining the program. Great to have you here. Can't wait to help you go from wherever you are to elevate. Discounting. If someone says, if you quote someone, hey, well, I'm $5,000 for a website, and they say, well, we've only got a budget of $3,000, and then you say, okay, well, we'll do it for $3,000. You've just admitted that you were ripping them off in the first place. So please don't ever discount without removing some scope or some features from the project. Question number 4, what about scope creep? Great question. And scope creep, for those of you that don't know, is what happens when you get halfway through a project and then the client says, what about the membership portal where people log in and track their previous membership history? And you're sitting there going, breaking out into a cold sweat with a knot in your stomach going, what the hell are they talking about? A membership portal? Did I miss a meeting or 4? I never heard about a membership portal. And you realize that there's all this new work that you're going to have to do. And you're going to have that awkward conversation with them about, this is going to cost more money. So this usually happens because we get a theme that we like using, and then we grab the client's content and try and shove it into the theme and realize that theme is not meant to work with memberships. So here's an idea: get all the content first, better still, do it for them and charge them accordingly, and then find a theme or use a standard theme framework that you know and like and build the site around their content rather than trying to shove their content into the site. What do I do about content? Well, I think we just answered that question. Do it for them, right? My good friend Ed Dale, who's one of my mentors, he's an absolute gem of a man and has had a huge impact on my life. Because if you don't know, I spend a lot of time and money on mentors to improve myself and to expand my knowledge and my skills and my expertise as well, because I think it's very important as part of your professional development. So Ed Dale, I interviewed him on the podcast, and he said to me once, the problem with content is that most freelancers and consultants in our space are always trying to extract content from the clients. The better idea would just be to do the content for them, because they are not equipped to do content. They don't have the skill set to do content unless they are copywriters or content marketers or marketing strategists. They're hiring you to do the content. You can collect all their assets. Don't confuse assets with content. Don't confuse a photograph of the CEO and his bio. That's an asset. It's not content. Right? Don't confuse assets with content. You can collect all their assets and then design a content strategy for them. That's actually what they're hiring you for. Question number 7, what about themes and plugins? Yes, what about themes and plugins? Well, themes and plugins are a thing. And so I think the question that's really being asked here is, which theme should I use and which plugin should I use? And the truth is, it doesn't matter. However, there are some criteria that you should make sure your favorite themes and plugins meet. 1, they are developed to best practice. I like using premium themes and plugins because if I pay for them, I can then email the developer and say, hey, something doesn't work. Can you please fix it? Because that's really what you're paying for, is support. Also, if I'm paying for something, I'm keeping that business in business, which means they can continue to develop it and make it better. So it doesn't matter what theme or plugin you use, as long as it's consistent, it's best practice, and you don't swap and change every time a new project comes in the door. You've got to use the same development framework on every project. That's the only way to stay profitable. Where do I start? And this is a really interesting question. So where I would start, let me just go back to the Mavericks model here for a second. I would start by looking at every part of my business, looking at the Genius model here, the Mavericks model, looking at every part of my business and saying, okay, let's look at the big chunky items. Do I have recurring revenue? No. Okay. Is the business on autopilot? No. Okay. Are we at zero turbulence? Hell no. Okay. So what is going to move what's the biggest domino that's going to solve a lot of other smaller problems? Probably recurring revenue. Cool. So then look at what interacts between recurring revenue, grow and profit. Okay. So I need to focus some energy on grow and profit. Usually when you're starting out, processes and people and documentation, that stuff can kind of wait, right? The elevation stuff can kind of wait. But the grow and the profit, that's what you're going to need to be focusing on when you first start out. So then drill out to the accelerators and say, righto, well, what can I do this week? Can I get my lead gen engine going this week? Can I get my care plans going this week? Probably. Cool. So just do that. That's where I'd start. Don't try and eat the elephant all at once. Eat the elephant one bite at a time. Go back to your accelerators and ask yourself, what do I need to focus on? Give yourself that rating, red, amber, green. Well, I'm red here. I need to get it to amber. If you can get that whole thing to green, you're in a very good place. You should come chat with me and you should be hanging out in the Mavericks Club. We're going to Thailand soon for one of our masterminds, and that's where you should be. If you get that whole model looking green, you should definitely be in the Mavericks Club. Number 9, can you prove this works? Well, that's a very good question. I can't prove that it's going to work for you because I don't know how well you take instructions. I don't know how good you are at taking massive imperfect action, and I don't know how strong your belief is in what you actually want to do here. Things might get tough and you might just throw the towel in and say, oh, it's all too hard, and you might go off and chase some other shiny widget. But if you really want to build a business, and this is something that you're serious about, I can't guarantee it's going to work for you. All I can do is introduce you to a whole bunch of people that it has worked for. The case studies I showed you here, I have dozens of case studies like that from people all over the world that I can introduce you to. And I'd be more than happy to introduce you to them, and they would be more than happy to chat with you. So I hope that answers that question. Question number 10, can you help? Well, yes, actually, I can help. I can help you if you join the program. That's how we help. That's how we work. And so maybe let me just come back and revisit some of these models here, that wherever you are, if you're considering that you are a freelancer, if this is kind of how you identify at the moment, then you're probably kind of here. You're learning or you're grounded. And these might be some of the numbers that you're looking at, okay? In order to go from, and it's actually quite easy to go from grounded to taxiing. It's not too hard to go from taxiing to takeoff either. It requires a little more discipline and a little more work. But if you consider yourself a consultant, then you're kind of operating in this space. And these are some of the numbers that you're expecting to look at, yeah? If you're a maverick, which is ultimately where we want you, then you're operating in this space here, and that's where you can really start having some fun. And as I said before, we're really good at helping you do this, but you've got to trust in the process. You've got to trust in the process. You've got to trust in the fact that there's people that have walked this path before. There's people that have done this. You don't need to reinvent the wheel here. You don't need to try and do this on your own. There are people here who have done it, myself included. Simon Kelly, who's our head coach here at WP Elevation. Jamie Hill, who's one of our flight instructors in the States. Pete Perry, based out in New York. Christina Hawkins in Texas. They're our flight instructors. They are there. They have walked the path. They have done it. They are still doing it. And we are here to help you. And there's however many people in the program right now who are all doing the same business, and 3,500 people have been through the program in the last 5 years and have contributed to the collective knowledge base and resources in this program. So yes, we can help, but you've got to make that decision to jump lines. And the decision, as I said, is pretty easy to make that decision when you're here, because there's not a lot of Not a lot of room you've got to cover. There's usually some low-hanging fruit in your business that we can pick straight away. We can just help you course correct a couple of things and get you onto that green line. But the longer you wait, the harder it gets. And the harder it gets, the more expensive it gets and the riskier it gets. And the less likely you're actually going to do it because you know it's just going to be really bloody hard. Yeah. So I hope that answers that question. Those fast-acting bonuses do expire in 2 minutes and 33 seconds. I do just want to recap what those fast-acting bonuses are for those of you who might have missed it. So the fast-acting bonuses are, here we go. The fast-acting bonuses are coaching calls for the next year. You can jump on a call just like this every week for the next year. As I said, we do take a couple of weeks off over Christmas and New Year, but every week for the next year, you can jump on a call like this and get your questions answered. That is priceless. We're also gifting you our Lead Gen Masterclass, which is a 6-module masterclass to help you become a lead generating machine for yourself and your own business and your clients. And if you can generate leads for your clients' businesses, then they are never going to fire you. You are basically irreplaceable if you can generate leads for their business. We are also gifting you, and that's $997, that program, and we're gifting that to you now if you sign up. We're also gifting you the Hiring a Team Masterclass, which will help you hire your first team member or scale your existing team. That's worth $997. We're gifting that for you, and we're doing this to encourage you to jump the lines now because we know it's a scary proposition. But if you do be bold and make that decision and jump the lines, we're gifting this to you as a reward. And the final bonus is the Recurring Revenue Masterclass, which will help you build care plans and recurring revenue in your business, and that also is $997. Hey, I want to thank Bob Rantlev for joining from the United States. Thank you for joining the program. I want to thank Augustin from the United States. Thank you for joining the program. And also want to thank Jackie from Australia for joining WP Elevation. Thank you for joining the program. I look forward to helping you go from wherever you are now to elevating. I do need to bounce out of here. And in fact, there are only 50 seconds left on the clock for those fast-acting bonuses. I want to thank you all for your time. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for being on the call. I hope you've learned something. I hope you've taken a bunch of notes. I'm looking forward to working with those of you who are in the program to take your business to the next level. And for those of you who are still sitting on the fence, there are 30 seconds left to join the program. And those seconds are counting down. And when they count down, those fast-acting bonuses go away. Those fast-acting bonuses go away in 19 seconds. I feel like an auctioneer. Those fast-acting bonuses go away in 15 seconds. And we're going to count down the final 10 seconds. T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Those fast-acting bonuses have gone away. If you have any questions, please feel free to email support@wpelevation.com, or there might be a question box near this video that you can ask a question, and we will answer your questions as soon as we can. Hey, thank you very much for being a part of this. This has been a lot of fun. I hope you've had as much fun as I am. I'll see you again soon. My name is Troy Dean. Go Elevate.